All right. Okay, well, welcome everyone to our Schooling Doula and 7 Points Prep workshop on how to brainstorm and structure personal statements. I know it's the end of the school year now, and you're wrapping up assignments and the end of senior year, or maybe you're already, I'm sorry, junior year, or maybe you're already finished. And so this may or may not feel like a relevant topic right now, but I think that you will be so glad that you're spending time doing this in June or the early part of the summer or the early part of the fall, whenever this is that you're watching this, um, because it'll help you put one step at a time, one foot in front of the other to get your college application completed, showing all those great parts of you that we've discussed to colleges and universities. So I'm really excited to be here with you guys today, and we're going to go ahead and get going. I want to say a couple of things before we get started. If you have something you want to share with me, private chat me anytime, okay? You can do that by finding the chat button in the bottom of the screen, along with sharing and participants and stop video, that kind of stuff. Along the bottom, there's a place that says chat. And when the chat box comes up, you can control to whom that chat goes. It can either go to everyone or it can go to the host. And so if you want to private chat me, you definitely can do that. If you're willing to chat with everybody, you've got ideas that you're sharing, feel free to share it with everybody. And I hope that this will be as participatory as we all make it, right? So I invite you to participate. I invite you to bump in with questions anytime you have them, or ideas anytime you have them. And I also invite you to get into a comfortable position in your house and wherever you are, because this is going to be a really fun time, I think, of getting to know you and what makes you tick and who you are and where your strengths are, what your values are. And so you want to be comfortable while you're doing that. All right. I also, we're going to be working from a particular workbook called Personal Statement Workshop Workbook. And there should be a link in an email from me, or I know there's a link in the chat for today. But definitely find that find that workbook and open it up. And if you're like me and you like to actually write with a pen, you might want to print it out. I invite you to do that now, and you can pause the video or whatever you need to do in order to get ready to do that. You definitely need a computer or a pen, something to do some writing today. All right, so all of that said, so glad you're here, and we will move on. Oh, I want to say that I'm doing this with colleagues, Sarah Leonard, and also it's based on the work that I've done in training with Ethan Sawyer, my colleague who calls himself College Essay Guy. And he has lots of free content on his website, College Essay Guy. So if you ever need ideas for how to write a college essay, he's got tons of resources and examples and videos on YouTube and all sorts of things. And I've done a whole series of workshops with him, and a lot of this content is based on work that he has developed over decades of working with top students getting into top schools, and also students who just want to be awesome learners at schools all around the country and the world. So what we're doing today is tried and true. All right. So with that pen, or with that those fingers, I invite you to, in private chat or public chat or just on your paper, think about today. An opening question is, what superpower would you like to have today? Or if that doesn't ring true to you, what is your actual superpower? So I'd be glad to see that in the chat if you want to. Yeah, that's awesome. It would be nice to be all together. Or maybe that's not what you're thinking about, but what superpower would you wish for today? Super speed, mind reading. Yeah, nice. Cool. All right. We're going to get a little more into writing. I encourage you, if you're ever feeling stuck with writing, like you've got writer's block and you just don't know what to do, to try this kind of practice called morning pages. And it's called morning pages just because it can be a practice you do first thing in the morning, but really you can do it anytime you need to get going with writing. So I invite you to take a moment now and either in your workbook or on a blank piece of paper or on a blank screen, describe your day so far in as much detail as you can. It can be as minute or as general as works for you. If that really doesn't appeal at all, you can write about what is present for you in this moment. Or if none of those things works for you, feel free to write about what you hope to get out of this workshop. But I really just want you to be, I'm going to set a timer, and for the next few minutes, having that pen to paper or those fingers to keyboard and just write, describing your day so far in as much detail as you can, or what is present for you right now, or what you hope to get out of this workshop. Here I go. I'm setting a timer for 3 minutes. Go. All right, that's about time. So finish up what you're writing. And feel free to send me a private chat or a public chat about what that experience was like of just writing, writing, writing for a few minutes, help you get your juices flowing. And I would also love to have people share maybe one line, one phrase, even one word from what you just wrote. You can private or public chat, or feel free to unmute and share. Nice. I love it. I got some direct messages, and we also all saw that Thomas has Duncan on his mind. Awesome. We have to wonder if it's basketball or the donuts or the coffee or whatever else is at that place. I agree that it's hard to come up with ideas in the morning. I was thinking that just that all you need to do is describe your day. I got up, put foot on floor, right? Doesn't have to be anything tricky, but I do recommend that if you're feeling stuck about writing, just get pen to paper, right? And I actually recommend pen to paper over typing on the keyboard for really activating your brain. So if you're ever really feeling stuck, get out, pen and paper and just describe what you've been doing so far that day, and it can help get your brain into the game. Cool. Um, all right, so let's keep up what we're going to do today. All right, so here's the overview of what we're going to spend some time doing. And we might not get all the way to the end of the workbook or all the way to the end of the slides, but those slides in the workbook are there for us to continue our work together after this starting point. Okay, so briefly in the next couple of minutes, I'm going to go over with you the purpose and the general genre of college application personal statements from my point of view and from the point of view of Ethan Sawyer, college essay guy. And I'm aware that some of you might be working on personal statements in school with your teachers, and this information may or may not be different from what you're hearing in school, but I invite you to just take this as one perspective on personal statements, and one that is tried and true and has been used to great success over the years, but isn't the only way to think about it. Then we're going to get into some actual brainstorming exercises. We're going to do hopefully about 7 of them. Where you're again putting pen to paper or fingers to keyboard and exercising your mind about all sorts of different parts of you. And in past workshops, we've talked about the puzzle pieces of you that make that big picture that you're wanting to show colleges and universities. And so we're going to work on getting into some of those puzzle pieces today through brainstorming exercises. Then we're going to give you a template for thinking about 2 different structures for writing a personal statement. One is montage and the other is narrative. So we're going to talk about that. And then we're going to look at 2 sample essays, a montage essay and a narrative essay, and sort of break it apart and look for the components of that. It's like trying to really understand the structure of 2 different ways of doing this. All right, and hopefully we will end with thinking about topic selection, like of all of the different ways that one could write a personal essay, how do you choose which one, right? And so we'll talk some about that, and we can also pick that up in future work together. And if you would like to take us up on our offer with this workshop, what we do is if you send us some outlines, draft outlines, we will get feedback back to you. And if you'd like to send us a first draft of a personal statement after those outlines, then we will also do that. And we'd love to have all of that, in by July 14th, because we've got an application boot camp starting on July 18th that we want to be ready for. So that's the big idea of where we're going today. Feel free to chat me if you have any questions or unmute and let me know. Pause there for a second while you think if you have any questions. All right. Okay. All right, so there is this thing that maybe you've been hearing about for some years called your college essay. And the official title of that is your personal statement. And this is for schools that use the Common Application, the Coalition application, and many schools ask for some optional, they'll say, tell us about yourself or submit a piece of writing, and it can be the topic of your choice. So the personal statement applies to many, 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 many types of college applications. I will add that the University of California schools have writing that is connected to the personal statement, but is not the same thing. Okay, so those of you who are applying to University of California schools, this genre, the personal statement, is different from the personal insight questions for University of California, but this personal statement applies to almost every other college application. Okay, so it's not that it won't be useful at all for University of California applications, but it is a different kind of thing. Okay, so the big idea of what the personal statement is for is to share 4 different things: your skills, your qualities, your values, and your interests that lead you to be a great candidate for a particular school. It isn't about why that school is perfect for you, because it's going to go to all the schools. Okay, so it's generally about you and your skills, values, interests, and qualities. And so it can be a creative kind of statement. It can be a genre very different from anything you would write for English class. And that's why we're going to get into some different structure options today and some different sample essays so that you can see what it might be like. We're also going to look at prompts that the applications ask you for, but I'm going to tell you that what I encourage you to do is take the option of, choose your own adventure or choose your own topic, which is one of the prompts. We're going to get to that. So they want to know, like, who are you and what are you going to be like on campus? What is it that you love to do? What is it that you love? What are your values? How do you like to spend your time? And just sort of what makes you tick, and they kind of want to get to know you as if they were sitting at a table having tea or coffee with you or whatever you enjoy doing. Just who are you, right? And you don't get a chance to interview in the most cases with a college admissions officer. So this is your chance to sort of interview through writing. Okay. All right, so great. Well, so then let's look. So when you go to the Common Application or to many college applications, they're going to give you some prompts, and you may have heard about these prompts. And so let's just go through them together. And again, I'm going to encourage you to end up with choosing 7, which is share an essay on a topic of any topic of your choice. And it can be one that you've already written. I would encourage you not to, unless you've done something amazing for school that is exactly the same thing, I would encourage you to start fresh here, but not necessarily feel bound by any of these prompts. That said, sometimes prompts can help give ideas, and so I thought we could at least go through them so that you see what's the range of things that they're asking about are. So the first one is about identity, right? Or things that you might have included in your BB's activities, fleshing out exercise, interests or talents or things in their background that the application would not be complete without including it. Okay, so like maybe there are things on your activities list, things on your transcript, things on in your recommendations that aren't going to come up anywhere else. So you want to make sure that they're in your personal statement. If that sounds like you, share that that story. The next one is about lessons, right? So like if we're thinking about that BB's template where there's the what I did and then there's also the lessons learned section. So maybe there's something in your lessons learned that you particularly want to write about. Lessons from obstacles that we encounter can be fundamental to later success. And talk about a challenge, a setback, or a failure. My experience with this is that many people have like actual big challenges, but if you are one of those people who hasn't had actual big challenges, then I'm going to show you a structure for writing an essay that isn't focused on challenges. But if you do have big challenges, then there's the narrative form of the essay that we're going to talk about that would be great for that. All right, next, reflect on a time when you questioned or challenged a belief or an idea. What prompted your thinking and what was the outcome? Reflect on something that someone has done for you that has made you happy or thankful in a surprising way. How has this gratitude affected or motivated you? With that one, I just want to point out that it would be so tempting to write an essay about a family member or a friend or a mentor. And in school, right, we're sometimes asked to do that, write an essay about a person. But I want to advise you that this essay is about you. So even if you mention gratitude that you got from somebody doing something for you, you want to focus most of the writing on you or about things that are important to you, motivating you, affecting you. Okay, next. Discuss an accomplishment, an event, or a realization that sparked a period of personal growth and a need and something covered up by the chat and a new understanding of yourself or others. I think that kind of question is really getting at like the big thing that they're wanting from these personal statements is like authentically you and any insight or aha moments or so what's that you've had. Okay, and finally, describe a topic, an idea, or a concept you find so engaging that it makes you lose all track of time. Why does it captivate you? What or who do you turn to when you want to learn more? And I will say about that one that that is sometimes a supplemental essay from some schools, like I'm thinking about Stanford, in case that's a place that you're thinking about. They have a supplemental question like that also. So it makes sense to include some of that here potentially, but it also is something that you could write and use as a potential supplemental essay as well. And finally, the last prompt is share an essay on any topic of your choice. And so what we're going to do today is learn about two different structures of writing an essay that could fit with almost any one of these 6 prompts, and then for sure fits with the 7. So basically you're unlimited about what you submit. And we've learned over time what is most effective is writing some about you and your and your skills, values, interests, and qualities. All right, let's see. I have, yes. And somebody's asking me in the chat if you already have a draft of one of these things. Is there a place that you can submit a draft to get review? And absolutely, whoever is your college counselor, if it's me or if it's Sarah, absolutely send it to us, okay? And we will work with you on that for sure. All right. And yes, this is if you are working on if you have a package of any kind with Schooling Doula or 7 Points Prep, then it is included in your work with us. Cool. Any other questions? Feel free to keep the chat going. All right, so we're going to get into our brainstorming exercises. So if you need to like stand up and move or whatever you need to do, we're going to get back into writing here for a second. These brainstorming exercises are absolutely just like the BB's fleshing out exercises that we've done in the previous workshops. These are the things that we have seen year after year, student after student, really get at the deeper points of those skills, values, interests, and qualities that you want to be sharing with colleges in your personal statement. So even if you've done previous drafts, it's totally worth doing these brainstorming exercises now to see if you can access some deeper thoughts, deeper memories, deeper ahas, whatever it is, or just silly things or funny things or things about you. So we're going to get out the timer again. So I'm timing, so don't worry. And get out your pen and paper for your workbook or your fingers on your keyboard. And you'll see in the workbook that there is, let's see, I'm on now page, Page 5 is where it says 7 short brainstorming exercises, and we're going to be doing those together, starting with exercise 1, I love, I know. All right, and so if you're ready, I'm going to give you the directions and I'd like you to do it. In about 1 minute, taking a total of 1 minute, make a list of random things you love. Some examples are, I love the ocean. I love the way clean laundry smells. I love winning an argument. Okay, so after you've done that, we're gonna do a different one. So first, make a random list of things you love. On your marks, get set, go. Okay, that's that minute. Let's switch gears to things that you know. Okay, so we're going to spend 1 minute now making a list of all the things you know a lot about. Some examples are, I know a lot about board games, World War II history, constructed languages, um, little tiny dogs and how loud they are. You know, whatever it is that you know a lot about. Okay, here is a 1 minute timer. Go. All right, that's 1 minute. If you would like to share anything that you love or that you know a lot about in the chat, either for everyone or for me, I'd love to get to know you more. Was there anything that you found yourself being surprised by that you loved or that you knew? Or, yeah. Anyway, it's a good thing to think about. Got some messages coming in. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Friday nights. Yeah. And the smell right before it rains. Yeah. And you know what's interesting about that? I'm just thinking about the East Coast smell before it rains is different from the West Coast smell before it rains. Ooh, nice. Yeah. Nice. Lots of loves, lots of no's. Cool. Thank you guys. All right, let's keep going. The next one is if you really knew me. So let's see. All right, so we're going to spend, I think we're going to do a couple of minutes right here. You guys are hysterical. Okay. This next one is we're going to spend a couple of minutes. I'm going to set a timer. And this one is if you really knew me. So write in your workbook, on your paper, in your typing area, write in the box what people would know about you if they really knew you. Okay. Give that a couple minutes. Go. Guys, I just realized this one isn't in the workbook in the order I was thinking of. So go for it anyway. Apologize. Okay, that's about the end of that 2 minutes. I'm sorry about that, that there was a syncing problem between the slides and the workbook. Apologize. If anybody wants to share anything with me in the private chat about the if you really knew me, or if you're feeling brave and you want to share it with everybody, you're welcome to do that. And we are going to go on. I'm going to go back to the workshop. I mean, sorry, to the workbook. Let's hope if it's, yeah, okay. So this is now we're back to being aligned in the workbook. The next one is the essence objects exercise. And are you with me? Questions? All right. So this essence objects exercise, which in the workbook is on page 6, we've got, you're imagining a box that's the size of the universe. Don't filter yourself. It could be, you know, any size thing. Each object in this universe-sized box represents an important relationship to you, or an important quality of you, or an important value. Okay. So go ahead and when we say start, list out those kinds of things that you might find in an Essence Objects box, and really don't filter yourself. So for me, I did a beginning of a list, my e-bike, a dog, I would have, right? And I obviously can't put an e-bike in a box, but in this box I can. A dog leash, my electric car key, my FISC guide to colleges, a food scale, my University of Washington purple stole, a water bottle that has a lift top hydro flask, a photo from a family photo shoot, songbook, walking shoes, and a hiking shirt. And all of those things are represent to me an important quality of me, an important skill I have, an important value, an important relationship, something that is really, really important to the puzzle pieces of me. Okay, questions about this? All right. So I invite you, I'm going to do another 2-minute timer, to imagine this box and all the things in it. Go for it. Oh, 5 minutes, it says. Let's try 2 and we'll check in. All right, that's 2 minutes. What I'd like to do for the next couple of minutes is I'm going to talk and ask you the questions on the list, and you can respond to the questions, or you can turn off the sound if you don't want to hear me doing this. But I've found when I did it, it was nice to have a voice asking me some questions and helping me think about things that are important to me. Okay, so here we go. You are going to try to be naming essence objects. These are tangible things that represent memories, moments, relationships, or values that are important to you. Feel free to briefly say why each one is meaningful. Here are some questions to help you brainstorm. What's an object that reminds you of home? What's an object that makes you feel safe? What's a food that reminds you of your family? What object represents a challenge you've faced? What's a dream or a goal that you have for the future? What's something about you that sometimes surprises people? Is there an object associated with that? Who are you with and what are you doing when you most feel like yourself? Are there objects that you can choose that are about that, who you're with and what you're doing when you feel most like yourself? What brings you joy? Look around you. What's hanging on the walls? Or what's hanging on your bedroom walls if you're not in your bedroom? What are you proud of? What's an object that reminds you of something that still feels unresolved in your life? What's an object that represents something you know now that you didn't know 5 years ago? What action or gesture represents love to you? Is there something, an object connected to that action or gesture? What do you like to do that does not involve technology? What might you save for your child to touch or hold or see someday? What's the most memorable meal that you've ever eaten or the most memorable meal you've made? If you have a bag, a book bag, a purse, a sports bag, any kind of bag that you regularly carry around with you, what's in it? Is there anything that's always there? What do you like to collect? Is there anything you've kept from a trip you've been on? And if there's anything, is there something that people associate with you? Something? All right. Okay. Gonna move on soon, so wrapping that essence objects exercise up. Questions, feedback, anything is always welcome in the chat or out loud. All right, so we did the essence objects. And now we're on random questions, which in the workbook says exercise 3, but here it's exercise 4 because we had that other one stuck in. So, all right, so this is another kind of, I'm going to read some questions and you can answer them if you want to. You, of course, don't need to answer them all. And you don't have to listen. I guess I should say in the chat, I'm back if you did turn off the sound. Okay, and we're going to go into random questions. Okay. So I'm gonna read some of these out, and you have a blank something where you're going to be able to write about these things. Okay, here we go. We answered this one today about what you wish you had, but what is your actual superpower, or what are your actual superpowers? Do you have a favorite story to tell? Can you think of traditions that have been passed down in your family? What's perfect about your life? When is a time that you forgave someone or you were forgiven for something? What's a class you would love to take, even if no such class exists? How do you make people laugh? When in your life have you felt most alone? What is your biggest secret? What would you tell your younger self? If the zombie apocalypse came tomorrow, what particular skill would you use to survive? What does that still small inner voice tell you? What, if anything, is missing from your life? What thing could you never give up? What's one thing you wake up in the middle of the night worrying about? What are you hiding? Who or what makes you laugh? And finally, what are you ready to let go of? All right. Most of us have done this exercise, and what I'm going to do is have us take a break because we've been here almost an hour. And I invite you during the break while you're taking care of business to look over this list of the values exercise in the workbook. It's back before it's before the short brainstorming exercises on page 4. And so if you've already done it, you're refreshing your memory of what you identified, or you are taking another look today. Maybe your values feel different, and you're thinking first about your top 10, then your top 5, then your top 3 values. Okay, so let's come back in about 7 minutes, and you've taken a break and you've refreshed your ideas about your values. And if you've never done this exercise before, feel free to take your time. The idea is to identify 10, then 5, then 3 of the things that are most important to you as you think about who you are and your core. Okay, but let's get back together at 5 minutes after the hour, and I'll stick around if anybody has any questions. Okay, I'm coming back. So, we just got back from a break, and for those of you who haven't already done this values exercise, the goal is to look through this list and really anything else, right? There are blanks there at the bottom because it's totally fine to come up with your own values. And the idea is that you want to identify, your top 10, your top 5, your top 3 values so that when you're doing any part of your college application, we can make sure that those values are coming through. And so in our previous workshops, we were doing a values scan for looking at fleshing out activities, looking at the puzzle pieces of you. What are those key values, and are they coming through to readers who aren't you, right? And so that's one of the things that when you're asking for feedback from teachers, from parents, from friends. You can say, you know, what values do you see coming through in my writing? And if those values that they see match with what you're trying to communicate, then great. And if they don't, then you might want to shift something that you've been writing about or something in a slightly different way to make sure that those values come up. And so ideally, we're seeing your top 3, your top 5 values in most of the work that you're doing in your college application. Not right now necessarily in your first drafting phases, but over time. And so this brainstorming of like, what are your top values, hopefully will have a ripple effect on everything else that you're doing. All right, so I'm back and I hope you're back. We're going to go on with our brainstorming exercises. We're on one that in the workbook says number 4, and here on the slides it says number 6. It says career. So you may not know anything about this, but probably you've thought a little bit about careers and things that you might like to do in the future. So just take a stab. There's no right or wrong, and you're not committing to anything here. It's just a brainstorming exercise. So in your workbook or on your paper or wherever you're typing this, name a career or several careers that you're interested in. First, just a list of those things. What's a career or several careers that you're interested in? The example here is entrepreneur. I'm happy for you to put those in the chat if you want to, but otherwise just on your paper or in your tablet or on your computer. And then think about 2 to 3 qualities that you possess that will make you strong in this career, or 4 to 7, some qualities that you have and some that you value, some values that you have that you possess that will help you be great in that career. Thank you. We've got some ideas going on. Nice. Thank you for that. What are some qualities that you possess that will help you be great in that career? Connects to your values, right? What are some values that you have that will help you be great? Some examples here are helping others, adaptability, fun, autonomy, creativity, inclusion, productivity. I also see curiosity, purpose, knowledge. Yeah. Cool. I'm seeing that in the workbook that there are some examples from former students. Yep, didn't catch that. All right, anybody want more time on this? Send me a private or a public chat. Okay, we're going to move on. Now we're going to identity, which in the workbook is exercise 5 on page 8. Okay, this identity one is similar to a one that also is coming up, number 7. So we're going to do this one, identity. So how do you identify? Here's some examples for me. I'm a reader, I'm a tea drinker, I'm a bike rider, I'm a walk lover, I'm a singer-songwriter, I'm a cisgendered woman, I'm a bi-coaster, I'm a singer, I'm a feminist. Name for yourself as many identities you claim or communities that you're part of. Is there one identity that's particularly important to you? Or maybe something that you've struggled? If so, what have you found challenging about it? Identities and communities can be defined in many ways. There might be ones that are associated with place. So you might want to make a table like is on this slide, all your place identities. Like for me, I'm a Central Seattle resident. I'm a bi-coastal kid. I'm a native Oregonian. I'm a co-housing community ex-resident. I'm a Madrona mom. I'm a Florence Court neighborhood leader. Or there are action-oriented identities, like things I've done. I led a school integration project. I'm a member of a diversity-focused admissions counseling community. I donate funds. I organize neighbors. I completed a PhD. Or there might be interest-based communities or identities. I'm an audiobook lover. I'm a walker and a hiker. I'm a singer. I like travel. And I also put in some specifics there. Or there might be circumstance identities. I'm female identified. I have European ancestry. I'm a rider of a neighborhood bus. I'm Norwegian American. I'm a kringla eater. And I'm a recovery group member. I have struggled with eating challenges since I was very young. So I'm going to give you some quiet time for you to think about identities you claim or communities you're part of. And I do invite you to think about place, action, interest, circumstance. I give you set a timer for that for 2 minutes. Go. All right, that's 2 minutes. Let me know if you need some more time on that. All right, we're going to move on then. Number 6 in the workbook, and here, aha. Okay. All right, let's go. Here's the home one that's in the workbook. All right, so we answered this question potentially in one of the earlier exercises, but let's spend a little bit more time here. 1 minute on this question. What's one place you feel most like yourself? Where do you find flow? Examples are in the kitchen, or when I'm coding, or when I'm playing games, or when I'm taking photographs, or when I'm singing, or when I'm walking, or when I'm hiking on a mountain. Name as many places that help you feel most like yourself, or you find flow, or it feels like home for you. And then if that feels very hard to define, feel free to write about that as well. So here's a minute. Go. All right. Okay. So final brainstorming exercise for this time is to identify your islands of personality. And we're gonna do a 1 minute clip from Inside Out, maybe a movie you watched in your younger days. And then we are going to think about islands of personality. Hopefully this is going to work sound-wise. If it doesn't, hopefully you remember the movie. So send me a private or a public chat if it's not working.
And each core memory powers a different aspect of Riley's personality. Like Hockey Island. Goofball Island is my personal favorite.
Come back here, you little monkey!
Yep, Goofball is the best. Friendship Island is pretty good too. Oh, I love Honesty Island. And that's the truth. And of course, Family Island is amazing.
I thought the
The point is,
Hey, I'm liking this new view.
Friendship Island is expanded. Glad they finally opened that friendly argument.
Okay. So, escape. Ah, yeah.
the journey to becoming a University of Phoenix student.
Yeah. Cool. All right, great. So I invite you to think about your islands of personality. So for me, public school parent, white ally wannabe, new dog mama, personal powered transportation island, singer island, sugar, coffee, wheat, etc., free island, Fisk guide memorizer, schooling doula island. These are some different sides of you that you might want to show. I invite you to work on your islands of personality. I'm going to give you 1.5 minutes for that. Go. Okay, wrapping that up. Okay. So you can always come back to these brainstorms. It may or may not have been enough time for you to get some ideas out. There are a few more if you'd like to do additional ones later on in the workbook. There's one called 21 Details, and there's one called Everything I Want Colleges to Know About Me list. So you definitely have more opportunities to do that if you'd like. But these ones are the ones that I've found to be most useful in helping people generate ideas ultimately. Okay. I am happy for your questions in the chat anytime. You can stand and stretch and shake because we're going to move to a different section now. We're going to move into how to tell your story. And using all of these ideas that you've generated in your brainstorming, and not necessarily today, right? Sometimes it takes our brain a while to percolate on all of these different things, but it helps to have a structure in which to put our ideas. And so today I'm going to introduce you to two different structures that you might use to tell a personal statement story. The first is a narrative, and another is montage. And we're actually going to spend more of our time on montage today, and we will also discuss narrative, but I find that montage is very, very successful for a lot of students, and narrative is very successful for a smaller subset of students. So narrative in general is one that you might be familiar with from school, right? Like I know that we always, I don't know if you've had curriculum where we've talked about writing about a small moment and then going to a string of moments and to one larger sort of beginning, middle, end type story. A narrative works well if you have a challenge that you've overcome, or there's some sort of something that happens and then there's an effect, a cause and effect. One moment leads to the next. Often events are in chronological order. First this, then this, then this, then this. It's recommended if you're writing about a particular challenge that you've had in your life, and you're not writing about a series of challenges necessarily. It's like there's one main thing that you're trying to tell a story about. First this happened, then this happened, then this is what I did, right? And this is the lesson I learned, and this is the impact it had, right? So it's kind of that logical sequence that we were thinking about when we were doing our B exercises. Okay, and then the other big personal statement structure is montage. And so it's where you're writing in a thematic way, and all of the moments that you're sharing in your statement connect to a common idea or a common thread or a common theme. The advantage of montage is that you have more freedom to jump around in time. It doesn't have to go first this, then this, then this. And it can tell key pieces of that puzzle of you without feeling like you have to have first this and then that. In general, this is a very successful structure if you're not focusing on one big challenge that you've had in your life. It is not a lesser structure. It is an excellent, awesome, structure that gets people into colleges time and time again. So do not worry about it if it sounds different or not what you've been thinking of as far as your college application. So let's dig into what is this montage structure. So montage in film and in storytelling is a technique that involves creating a whole thing from separate fragments, either pictures or words or music, right? And it's like a collage that you're putting together. In filmmaking, the montage effect condenses space and time so that information can be delivered more efficiently. That you don't have time to tell the whole thing first this, then this, right? You're saying like, here are all the different little scenes that connect to this big theme that we're trying to put together. Like here in this picture, you can see all of the different scenes from these characters' lives from the beginning to the end, but it's just all together shown to you in the little snippets. It has the ability to have a few images tell the whole story. And you can use this technique in your essay. So like we talked about, the purpose of the essay is to share with colleges and universities those puzzle pieces of you, the skills, qualities, values, and interests that you will contribute to their campus. And in the montage structure, you can really show several different sides of yourself. You can connect them with a common theme or a common thread. And so we might think about, why do we want to focus on a theme? Because you can't discuss every single aspect of your life, but you can show a few important points through that single lens, that single theme. I really like this image of the necklace with the beads. It really helps me talk with you about it and for me to understand myself. I imagine wearing a necklace, the thread is the theme, is the topic, is the central organizing idea. And then the beads are the examples or the scenes or the images that I want to show. And so in order to have a great montage personal statement, you want to have a variety of beads, a variety of skills and qualities and values and interests that you want to show, or basically some stuff you want to write about. And then you want to have a thread, a theme, a common idea that connects them all. So something to connect them. All right, so let's look at this example essay. This is an example montage structure essay. As we read this essay together, see if you can spot elements of a great college essay, the values, the insight, the vulnerability, and craft, okay? And we can talk later another time or now about what are those things, but look for the person's values. We already talked about that with the values exercise. Look for their so what's, their insight, their ahas. Look for their vulnerability. Colleges really, really want to know who you are, your authentic self, and where you're opening yourself up a bit. And then craft means their writing ability, their way of communicating. Okay, so here we go. I am Mexican. I did not write this. This is written by a student, a former student. So here we go. I am Mexican. The sound of frying empanadas and the smell of burning peppers. My mother calling me mi vida and my relatives kissing my cheek. Running but never hiding from the dreaded chancla and always responding with muy bien, ¿y tú? Childhood vacations to Puebla and Cancun, swimming in the ocean and playing in the sand. Feeling the need to be good at cross country, feeling the need to be able to endure spicy. Those are all me. I am Chinese. The utter preference for using chopsticks in every scenario and the unhealthy craving for rice with every meal. The sharing of every dish placed on the center turntable. Hot pot for celebration and tea eggs of all things as a favorite dish. My father's musical Cantonese conversations with my grandparents and their constant inquiry asking, how's school? Being named after the dragon and for strength and living for 3 years in Shanghai. The constant pressure to get good grades, my father's desire for me to become a doctor, and the never-ending, how are you so bad at math? You're Asian? Those are all me. I am American, a citizen with the freedom to vote, the freedom to speak my mind, and the representation of by all the cultures and countries of the world. Shopping sprees at Target and a constant diet of fast foods. Full acceptance of the consumer society and a rather unhealthy addiction to social media and technology. going to football games on Friday nights and watching Netflix on Saturday nights, always watching my weight, always looking at others, always wishing, always wanting for more. Those are all me. I am Catholic. Sunday mornings always spent at church, the private Catholic middle and high schools, each with masses for special occasions, baptism, Eucharist, and confirmation, praying before each meal and saying, "Go away in the name of Jesus," to nighttime horrors, theology classes and realizing there's so much more to religion than faith, having something to believe in, questioning what you believe in, turning to God when I see the horrors in the world and getting no response. Those are all me. I am homosexual, an unusual obsession with fashion and clothing, watching Game of Thrones not for Daenerys or Cersei, but for Jon Snow and Jaime, seeing Love Simon for the first time and crying at least 5 times, always conscious, always thinking before talking, going to an all-boys school, dealing with gay being the go-to expression for displeasure, being called faggot when I act gay, fear of my parents finding out. Those are all me. I am Jonathan K. Lung Ing. I love reading and I'm addicted to fan fiction. I have 3 siblings and I love my 2 dogs more than anything in the world. I can't eat spicy food and I have the biggest sweet tooth. I play League of Legends and soccer. I'm a Marvel geek and a theater nerd. My friends call me Jenga, my teammates call me Jang, my teachers call me Mr. Eng. I am Mexican, I am Chinese, I am American, I am Catholic, I am gay, I am all of this and more, and most of all, I am me. My identity is not a singular entity, but a conglomeration of experiences, beliefs, and origins. This is my identity. This is me. And that was 553 words. The personal statement limit is 650 words usually. So there was a little extra bits. So feel free to put in the chat, either publicly or privately, any thoughts you have about the values, the craft. Let's see what else we were looking for. Oops. The insight, the vulnerability that you saw in this essay. And I just want to say that this was a very sort of textbook montage essay, right? Where the identity is the theme, right? Or this is me. Yeah, spoke about challenges they faced, but it wasn't just one challenge. It was, right, like many challenges, right? All sorts of different things. Very personal, sorry. Lots of vulnerability. It hadn't even come out to his parents, but it's coming out in this statement. It's not required to do anything like that. It's not required to be anything like this person, but this is just showing how you can have that one common theme and tell many, many different things about yourself. You can see like the islands of their identity, right? From the video of Islands of Personality, or the many different identities, the place and the action and the circumstance, etc. All those, this is a very much identity focused essay. Yeah, nice. Took the main points of each identity and connected them to himself, making them more personal. Nice. Yeah, lots of details, right? Do you feel like you know this person? You really do, right? And he couldn't have done that if he told the story of, let's say he told his coming out story, right? He'd tell the beginning, he'd tell the middle, he'd tell the end, but you might not get all the things that you get, all the different little images that you get of this person and all of the things that are connected to him. So cool. Any other thoughts about that? All right, let's see what else we're gonna. Okay, so, oops, that was a classic montage essay. And you'll see in your workbook that there's an example on page 11 of how you would outline to get to this kind of structure, so that he probably identified key identities right? Like he's got here, Mexican, Chinese, American, Catholic, gay, right? And he might have had those down the left side of the paper. And then he had examples that went with each of those things. What is it about being Mexican, right? And then he'd have examples of things like my mother calling me mi vida, my relatives kissing my cheek, running but never hiding, from chancla, etc. Okay, so all of those would be examples for Mexican. Then he'd have examples for Chinese, all the different things that he can remember or things that are important to him about being Chinese. Same with being American, Catholic, gay. And so he might have had, like you'll see in your workbook, there's a table that he might have developed and that you can develop that has your big ideas of things that you want to be including, and then the examples, right? And so the ideas can be values, they can be identities, they can be particular qualities, skills, things that happened, and then these are the details or the examples. All right. So now we are going to move on to the narrative structure. Okay, so narrative structure works really well when you've got a big challenge. And the structure that we recommend is that you spend about a third of the writing on the challenges and the effects, about a third of the writing on what you did about it, and about a third of the writing on what you learned. So let's look at some exercises that can help get you there. This is quite connected to the BB's exercise, but sometimes it's not about an activity. It's about something that happened to you and your family and your neighborhood. And so you can start with challenges and then think about the effects of that challenge, the feelings that you had that came up in connection to the challenge, the needs that you were trying to solve for, or the longing that you had during that time, what you did as a result of that challenge, and the lessons or the values that you took away from it. So if you think that you're going to do a challenge-based story, personal statement, I invite you to use this template, the feelings and needs exercise, to flesh out that challenge. And that is a brainstorming exercise that I would have had you do if you were going to be focusing on that. And in the workbook, it's on page 20. So you can use that. And in the slides, there's a list of lots of different feelings and lots of different needs that might be able to help you complete that. All right, so let's look at an example of a narrative essay. This one is called What Had to Be Done? And again, this is by a former student. At 6 years old, I stood locked away in the restroom. I held tightly to a tube of toothpaste because I'd been sent to brush my teeth to distract me from the commotion. Regardless, I knew what was happening. My dad was being put under arrest for domestic abuse. He had hurt my mom physically and mentally, and my brother Jose and I had shared the mental strain. It's what had to be done. Living without a father meant money was tight. Mom worked 2 jobs, and my brother and I took care of each other when she worked. For a brief period of time, the quality of our lives slowly started to improve as our soon-to-be stepdad became an integral part of our family. He paid attention to the needs of my mom, my brother, and me. But our prosperity was short-lived as my stepdad's chronic alcoholism became more and more recurrent. When I was 8, my younger brother Fernando's birth complicated things even further. As my stepdad slipped away, my mom continued working and Fernando's care was left to Jose and me. I cooked, Jose cleaned, I dressed Fernando, Jose put him to bed. We did what we had to do. As undocumented immigrants and with little to no family around us, we had to rely on each other. Fearing that any disclosure of our status would risk deportation, we kept to ourselves when dealing with any financial and medical issues. I avoided going on certain school trips, and at times I was discouraged to even meet new people. I felt isolated and at times disillusioned. My grades started to slip. Over time, however, I grew determined to improve the quality of life for my family and for myself. Without a father figure to teach me the things a father could, I became my own teacher. I learned how to fix a bike, how to swim, and even how to talk to girls. I became resourceful, fixing shoes with strips of duct tape, and I even found a job to help pay bills. I became as independent as I could to lessen the time and money Mom had to spend raising me. I also worked to apply myself constructively in other ways. I worked hard and took my grades from B's and C's to consecutive straight A's. I shattered my school's 100-meter breaststroke record and learned how to play the clarinet, saxophone, and the oboe. Plus, I not only became the first student in my school to pass the AP Physics 1 exam, I am currently pioneering my school's first AP Physics 2 course ever. These changes inspired me to help others. I became president of the California Scholarship Federation, providing students with information to prepare them for college, while creating opportunities for my peers to play a bigger part in our community. I began tutoring kids, teens, and adults on a variety of subjects ranging from basic English to home improvement and even calculus. As the captain of the water polo team and swim team, I have led practices crafted to individually push my comrades to their limits and counseled friends through circumstances similar to mine. I've done tons, and I can finally say I'm proud of that. But I'm excited to say that there's so much more I have yet to do. I haven't danced the tango, solved a Rubik's Cube, explored how perpetual motion might fuel space exploration, or seen the World Trade Center. I have yet to see the person that Fernando will become. I'll do as much as I can from now on, not because I have to, but because I choose to. Did you see any evidence of craft, of this narrative structure, challenges, effects, what you did about it, what you learned? Let's go back to that structure, challenges and effects, what you did about it, what you learned. You see any evidence of any of that? Feelings, needs. So when I say that you might want to use this structure if you have a significant challenge that you've overcome, you can see that he had a significant challenge that he overcame. And I want you to know that, of course, you may or may not have a challenge that's similar to this. If you do, great, let's help think about that. If you don't, but something still feels very significant to you, then great, let's work on that. It can be very successful regardless of the kind of degree of challenge. But I want you to know that there are these essays being written by kids every day of every year that the college applications are written. And so think about what's the best way for you to show yourself. All right, any questions about this? All right, well, how did he get here? You'll see in your workbook on page 21 a way to organize if you want to do the feelings and needs exercise on page 20. And then 21 is how to outline the challenges, the effects, and what you did about it. And that is the kind of way that you would want to outline to get to this kind of personal statement. So here we look at the challenges that he was facing, right? Domestic abuse, alcoholic stepdad, little brother, family is undocumented. The effects, they had mental strain. Mom worked 2 jobs. The brothers had to do lots of work to take care of themselves. They missed out on things. Grades started to slip. He had lots of feelings, confused, heartbroken, etc. Lots of needs that he was trying to solve for: a need for order, a need for autonomy, a need for reassurance, empathy, hope, support, self-acceptance. He also needed tangible things like money, and teaching, learning, right? And then what he did about it. He had lots of things. He took care of his brother. He learned how to do things he didn't already know how to do. He found a job. He took classes. He counseled friends and tutored people in his community. Lots of what he did's in here too. So this structure or this analysis can be used for developing a similar kind of essay. And then finally, the what he learned. He's proud of what he has done, and that's something that he's learned. He wants to do more of it. He wants to learn tango and solve a Rubik's Cube. He wants to do more things in life. And so that is the way that he outlined or got ready to write this draft. Okay. And so the next steps for you are to choose some different possible kind of topics and maybe choose a structure. Does montage feel like something to try? Or does narrative feel like something to try just for first drafts? If you want to finish any of the brainstorming exercises that we already started today, do that. If you are going to be doing the narrative, then you need to do the feelings and needs exercise. It's in the workbook. Then I invite you to outline 2 to 3 possible topics. Don't just choose one and move on, because often our first thought might be included in the ultimate thing, but we need to keep going a bit until we find to settle on the one that feels like it'll work the best. And I'll talk about that in a little bit, what might work best. Then after you've got 2 to 3 possible topics outlined, and I've got a slide that has a template for doing that and it's also in your workbook, then submit that for a check or a review with your counselor, me or with Sarah, and we can talk through those 2 to 3 possible topics and see which are the stretchiest, meaning has the most room for expanding on all of the things that you want to include, all the puzzle pieces of you, and which seems like the freshest or the most uncommon approach, because you do want to have something that helps you stand out a bit with your writing. And then after you've done that, then we'll ask you to do some log lines, which is like basically an executive summary of what the, or an abstract for what the essay might be. Then we'll ask you to do a first draft. And after that first draft, we'd love you to send it back to us so we can help you work through some next steps. With the narrative, same idea. Again, do the feelings and needs exercise, outline your possible topics, submit them, do your executive summary. By the way, here, if you click on it, there's a link to what is a log line, how does it work? Then do a first draft, then submit again for some feedback. And so let me show you some tools. So for the montage outline, I suggest that you choose a potential topic, like the one we looked at was identity, and then 4 to 7 different examples, right? Like Mexican, Chinese, Catholic, gay, American, okay? And then also the examples that go with the like the details, more some details about that if you want to. And then if you can connect it to a value for each example, that would be great. And it doesn't have to, right, so here's an example of another essay that we can find in the example essays. I've got links to them. So there's somebody who's using a montage theme about food. And so the examples that they're thinking of are, there's a story that this person has about finish your ribs. There's one about family notes on a tablecloth, gefilte fish, otter pops, and cooking. And these are the values that that person has attached to it. And then the next step beyond this would be perhaps to add some notes in, which are like the more details, right? The 2 to 3 details about each of those examples. So first you go through doing this kind of outline in a table for 2 to 3 different topics, okay? And then when we choose a topic that feels stretchy and uncommon as much as possible, then you would consider a simple first draft. You want to have a simple, clear opening, and then 4 to 7 paragraphs with specific examples and values. That'll be like, if you've got those in your outline, you can just dump them right into your 4 to 7 paragraphs, and then just an ending for now. And you don't want to have, you don't need to spend a lot of time on a clear opening or a strong ending right now. You just put something in place, right, that indicates in general where you're going with the essay, but it doesn't have to be clever or a particular hook unless you've got one, right? Like, feel free to share it, but you don't have to do that at first. All right, and then if you're going to choose a narrative, you do like we talked about with the essay about the boy whose father was arrested, that the challenges and effects, and just list them all out, way more than probably 3 bullets, but bullet, 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 what I did about it. You can start with active verbs. I tutored, I taught myself, I took care of my brother, etc. And then what I learned, bullet, 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 bullet. And then use the bulleted list as your outline and write a first draft based on that outline. And at each step, at the outline step and at the first draft step, I invite you to submit to me or to Sarah for feedback. So here are some, you can also get feedback from another person, but in general, these are the kinds of feedback that you're looking for. With a montage, you're thinking about that thread in the necklace. Is it clear what my topic is? What the common thread is? Are the examples in each paragraph strong, specific, and visual? Is it clear what values I'm trying to show in each paragraph? And do you spot at least 2 to 3 insights or moments where I answer "so what" in the essay? Okay, so those are the kinds of things that ultimately we're looking for. Of course, it might not be in the first draft, right? And so that's why we look for feedback. And I'll say that most of the, essays that are used to get into, the super ultra selective places go through 4 to 5 drafts, okay? And so just set your expectations that's not going to be a one and done, and that the more you put into drafting, the better it'll be. That said, I don't want it to sound like me. I don't want it to sound like your writing coach. I don't want it to sound like your parents. It needs to sound like you, okay? And so with the narrative, we'd be looking for challenges, effects, and what you've learned, okay? So this is just kind of, like when you're doing an assignment for school, what's the rubric? This is the what you're going for. If you want to see more examples, some of us learn really well through examples. Some of us our creativity is stymied by them. So you decide for yourself. Are you a person who could benefit from examples? If so, of course, there are lots of books that are this, like 100 winning essays or 10 willing, whatever you want to do, that's fine. Look at those. But I know that in this vein of teaching about personal statements, Ethan Sawyer, College Essay Guy, has all sorts of examples. And if you just Google College Essay Guy personal statement examples, you can find some. This is a direct link to some of those. And as I noted at the beginning, the United Kingdom essays, UCAS, and also University of California essays are different. And so I just wanted to put links in here just in case you needed those examples. But we can also, in a future workshop and in our one-on-one work on those examples. Okay, and so for you, again, the next steps are to complete any brainstorming or outlining exercises in either the montage or the narrative. and then submit some outlines. And if you want feedback from us associated with this workshop, then you're going to do that by July 14th. You can do that this week. You can do that next week. You can do that as soon as school's over. You can do that whatever works, but at least by July 14th. After July 14th, I'm going to be focused on that application bootcamp workshop, and we will be picking up in that workshop. We'd be picking up from here on, keeping going with that work. All right, so that's the end of the slides. We have about 4 minutes officially left. I would invite you to do all of that outlining work here if you want to, but I also would be happy for questions. Let me know. I just went through all of those pretty quickly. So what kind of questions do you guys have? Anything?
Wait, so like how, if we were to like write a draft, how again would we like submit it to, would we submit it to council more somewhere? To the files?
Oh, yes, that would be so awesome. And would you text or email me also that it's there?
Okay.
That would be great. So if you were in, our shared, we have a shared Google folder, which is, yes, in Councilmore, it's under files, but also in Google Drive. Let me see if I can, in your Google Drive, or actually, Lisa, you could, I don't know if you're willing to, but you could pick for you so that other people who are watching will know what, if I'm a student, what I'm looking for.
Can you repeat that? It was breaking up.
Has it been breaking up a lot?
No, just then.
Okay. I'm wondering if you would be willing to share your screen and we could show through how to find a place to share drafts.
Okay. Yeah, 1 second.
Hey, I'm looking at all the stuff on your wall. You must have had a lot of things for your essence objects.
Oh, this is my friend's room.
Oh, okay. Well, I know what's important to your friend.
Yeah, sports. Okay. Okay, here's council more.
Okay, cool. So one way to do it would be in that orange files tab.
Okay.
And so you could upload there. Now, if you wanted to go in, I think if you click on Drive, it doesn't take you to Drive, does it?
No.
Okay, if you go there, does it say, yeah, open student folder? That should take you to Drive. Let's see if it does. Does it? Huh. Okay. Oh, there it is.
Yeah, here.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is probably what you're more used to. And I just wanted to show you that under, if you go to Google Drive, right, like you could be in any kind of tab, you could make a new tab and go to Drive and then go to Shared with Me. And under your Shared with Me would be this folder that has your first name and your last name. And that folder is the one that is the Councilmore folder. There are 2 doors to that folder, one from Councilmore and one from Google Drive. And so you can get in there either place. And it would be great for you to put anything that we're working on together, anything that you want feedback from me for in there. Yes.
Okay. Okay, gotcha.
And then I probably will get a notification, but just in case I don't, shoot me an email or a text, either in Councilmore or just regular world, that it's in there and that you're ready for my feedback.
Okay, awesome.
Super, super helpful. Thank you, Lisa, for doing that. Anybody else got a question? Feedback for me? It was a lot to take in 2 hours. I hope that you got some brainstorming done. You've got a lot of ideas down on paper or on your screen. You've got some structures in your mind of, you could do a montage or you could do a narrative. How about send me a private or a public chat and then we'll be wrapping up. Which way do you think you're going to be heading? Do you think you're going to head in a montage or you're going to head in a in a narrative. There's a question in the chat, which I think is a really good one for everybody to hear. If we don't have any challenges that we think would stand out, should we do the montage? I would say, yeah, that would be a great way to start. If you want to talk that over with me, I'd be glad to have a one-on-one where we talk over a challenge that you think might work. But generally, I love a good montage. Yeah. Thomas is thinking he's going to go in the direction of montage. Anybody else thinking one way or the other? Okay. Montage it is. All right. You know, you can have challenges within a montage, right? It's just not just one challenge, right? Or like something big and impressive, because I mean, there really are, you know, for better or worse, there are a lot of people out there who have like significant challenges who are going to be applying right along with you. And you just, you know, you don't need to feel pressure to do that, right? Like it doesn't need to be a story that you create or that you feel like you have to have something in to impress. I'll say again that colleges do not want to be impressed. They want to know you and your authentic self. Okay. They want to just have a window into things that are important to you. All those brainstorming exercises we did, that's the kind of thing they're wanting to know. They're wanting to know also your insight. Like, what are those things that you have kind of like an aha about, or the so what about that, you know, or what are you looking to do in the future? They want to know all those things, you know, so. Okay, so I've heard from a few people. Are other people with us? Alex, how are you doing? Okay? Still there?
Yep, doing good.
Okay. Okay. Well, it's officially our time to be wrapping up. I know I left you with a ton. This was like a class, and now you got like some work to do. So I'm happy to connect with you individually about what kind of schedule to set for yourself on like when you really could do this work. You can look at your calendar and think, when can I get back to working on connecting these ideas to, you know, what is my common thread? What are my beads along there? What are my examples? What is my outline? And so set yourself a timeline for that. And then let me know, like text or email, what is your timeline? If we don't have a meeting set up, if we do have a meeting set up, let's follow up about this at our next meeting. Okay. You can also request a meeting. Let's set one. Okay. Any questions? Any thoughts? Thanks, guys. Really appreciate the time today. And I hope you have a great rest of your day as well.
Thank you.
Okay. Bye-bye.
Bye.